Welcome to Decision Point. Almost everyone has been touched personally by the problem of addiction. Our guests today, Bass and Mario Mendoza, are from Casa Vida De Salud in El Paso, and are here to talk about this devastating issue and how they can help. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
It's so good to have you here. You know, I understand you guys have been in the headlines lately about kind of battling with the Veterans Administration shutting you down. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Or defunding you, I guess.
Yeah,
really.
we had a contract to well, first of all, you know, thank you very much for having us on, and you're right. You know, alcoholism and drug addiction is a disease that touches almost every family in America. And I believe that if we put it in human terms, almost everyone would understand what we're talking about. It's that person that might have a little too much every time you have dinner together, or on and on. And there, you know, there is help, and there's recovery is possible.
Right.
And we started off as an organization of people in recovery from alcoholism and drug addiction. I got sober back in the 80s, and I've been sober 25 years now.
Right.
And we are an organization of people in recovery from alcoholism and drug addiction, and we decided to that there was a problem that we could address with stigma and discrimination, and therefore we organized around those two issues to begin with. And then in 2002 we began to provide peer-to-peer recovery services under a series of federal grants.
So why would the Veterans Administration shut you down?
You know, we thought that we received a couple of $1 million from the feds to develop these very, very effective peer-to-peer services over the past 10 years.
Right.
We thought, what a great way to give back. We can provide these services, these alcohol and drug and mental health services, for our guys and gals coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. What a better way for us to give back? Well, we did. We struck up a contract with the Department of Veterans Affairs that lasted. It was a 4-year contract, and when we got 2 years into it, we found a beautiful new building and moved into it so we could increase our capacity, and the VA decided to terminate our contract for that.
Yeah. So, Mario, did you have any inkling that an inspector could come out and basically, you know, shut down the whole VA contract program? You know, just one person could do something like this?
I didn't think that was possible, you know, at all. I mean, having 15, 20, up to 25 veterans in our facility, and you know, just going by what one individual says is just you know, out of this world. I mean, I just wish there was some sort of protocol, or maybe even keep providing services for our veterans while those issues were, you know, being fixed.
But they've just cut you off in terms of funding. You can't even provide those services for the veterans?
Oh, we continued to provide the services for the veterans.
But you don't have the funding.
That's right.
Right, yeah. And so basically you really never did get a response as to what the problem was until they came up with a kind of a list of little things that were wrong with the building? Is that kind of where they are, and they won't let you address those issues and so forth?
You know what's very it just blows my mind is that the past is the past. You know, we cannot fix the past, but we sat down in this conference room not too long ago with Mr. Beto O'Rourke and a couple of the people from the Veterans Administration, and actually try to find out what we could do now to try and help these veterans.
Right.
And this is my own personal opinion. I feel that we just went around in loops. I mean, nothing was actually settled that day. And we've actually applied for that contract again, and we have not received any notice if you know, the contract has even been given out to anybody. So now we have all these veterans just roaming the street and really not knowing where to actually stay.
So they're homeless because the Veterans Administration has shut off the faucet of funding so that they could come to this place and be helped and get out of their addictions and have a clean, safe place to live, get treatment, build community, build skills, and that kind of thing. And that's been shut off because of a list of safety violations when you guys have passed other inspections, right? What kind of certifications do you have?
We have, when prompted by what the VA implied in their inspection, we contacted the city of El Paso and have passed every inspection known to the city, including code enforcement, the health department, the fire department, where they've all been out there. We have applied for and received a lodging license. I think we have the only one in the city because they're so hard to get. And that essentially gives the our building the imprimatur of the city of El Paso to operate a hotel with a restaurant in it.
That's extraordinary. And yet, so do you think that it's like one individual at the Veterans Administration has like a beef or a vendetta or something that is not being made known because there's no rational reason why you would be denied the ability to operate? Is that, I mean, what do you think?
I can't speak to what's going on at the Veterans the Department of Veterans Affairs, and it's really difficult to find out what's happening over there, although I'm sure Congressman O'Rourke's office can. And but it seems to defy common sense for it seems to imply that the VA would rather see a veteran sleeping on the street in 30-degree weather rather than sleeping in our facility that's equivalent to a hotel with a fine restaurant.
Well, we've got photos up that we've been showing while we're talking, and people can see for themselves. It's not a bad place at all. It's quite nice, and that was the point, right? To provide a welcoming, clean environment for these people. Now, you were a veteran, right? You came through the system. Is that right, Mario?
No, I'm an individual who struggles with alcohol and drugs.
Oh, okay. But you weren't a veteran, okay? But
being
you did,
homeless, and that's why I could relate with the veterans, because being homeless, it's not a very good feeling, and not having too many places to actually stay at. You know, you have a couple of centers that Paso that are just not very livable. Now, when you put homelessness, addiction together, you're in trouble. You're in very deep trouble, and Casa Vida is where I found my hope, where I found that light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. Well, can you tell us a little bit about your story? How did you become addicted and homeless, and sort of what was the transition there?
And I just want to state that this did not happen overnight. This is I'm talking about years and years of drinking and using drugs, but slowly deteriorating my health, and as far as destroying family lives, because of my alcohol and drugs.
So were you married and had a family?
I was married 15 years, two, at that time, teenage boys. And basically, I spent all my money on alcohol and drugs.
And how about your recovery?
My recovery...
How did you get to Casa Vida?
Well, I got to Casa Vida, and you know what? I didn't know anything about Alcoholics Anonymous, anything about Casa Vida, or the other center, but it's kind of strange because I didn't have anywhere to go. and I really knew that I had a problem. I just didn't know where to go. And one of the directors there insisted on me going down there. And I finally gave in. I said, you know what? My marriage is over. My kids are good. They're with their mom. So why not give this I knew I had a problem, and I did. I took that step.
How long ago was that?
This was back in 2009, and June 26, 2009, when I took that step over from detox to Casa Vida. And of course, there's some work to be done there. You have to be willing to move forward. I have this slogan on my desk that says, if nothing's going to change, nothing's going to change.
That's really good. If nothing's going to change, nothing's going to change. I like
and
that.
The only one that can make that happen is me.
Yeah. Well, that's a good word. So how did you decide to have Mario be part of your staff?
Well, Mario is what Mario is not telling you is about his recovery. And what he has is the kind of recovery that people look up to. Most of the time when we get questions about our addiction and recovery, people tend to center on the addiction part, but and there's a gnarly story there for each one of us, I promise you. But what really stands up is the way God uses us when we decide to step out with Him.
Right.
Mario, made that decision to turn his will and his life over to the care of God, and he did the rest of the hard work that the 12 steps require, and it's obvious, it's seeable. It's like, we're sometimes we're what you might call practical theologians, okay?
Right. Because
we can see, we don't have to guess about miracles because we can see them. And so Mario was an outstanding was someone who was an outstanding example of recovery, and as well as being a good worker and a person who's trustworthy and all the rest of that. And having him on board with us was really rather quite easy.
What does the recovery program involve? Obviously, you're going to 12-step meetings and so forth, but what else does it involve with you guys? Because I know it's more than that.
We really shouldn't see it. It's a 12-step program, but I'm really not at liberty to say which one, because nobody represents any of these fellowships to the public. But we.
So what's involved in Casa Vida?
Well, we have at Casa Vida we have a residential recovery program that's run by peers in recovery, and we provide an environment in which recovery can grow. I can't make recovery grow, and nor can anyone else, but we can provide an environment where it can and let God do His work. And
would it be residential?
It is residential.
Yeah, right.
It's we have about 25 people under our roof right now.
Both male and females. It's a 30-day residential peer-to-peer recovery center where meals are provided. We have our own washer and dryer. We have groups given by volunteers. Some of those will be LCDC counselors, and some of those volunteers have actually been through Casa Vida. And I just want to state that, like Mr. Ben Bass said, when I got there, I was basically, I said to myself, you know what, I can get as far as I want to go with this thing called recovery. But as time went on, it changed, and it changed to the way of I can go as far as I let God take me. So it's changed dramatically.
Your perspective has changed.
Yes,
it's not about me, it's about God.
Yes.
Yeah. And so would you say that that's a crucial component to a recovery program?
It sure is.
Why is that?
Because I've tried it my way many times, and it had to be done. I mean, I was running out of options, and and Casa Vida is a good place. If you can't find God there, then God will find you. I mean,
So it happens either
Yes,
way.
it does.
And what's the quote unquote success rate of the program?
Our-
Somebody who goes through the program.
The reason the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services was willing to invest over $2 million in our development of our peer-to-peer recovery services is because we can start off with somebody who is homeless and has co-occurring mental health and addiction to either alcohol or drugs, and basically the hardest people you can imagine to work with, and we achieve a documented by them success rate of over 70% abstinent after 6 months, and that's 4 times the rate, the usual rate.
And the program is not expensive either. I know a typical recovery program is $35,000-$40,000 if you go to one of those fancy recovery places, right? I mean, it's virtually unaffordable for the average individual. So how can you do that? It's very affordable.
When our contract with the VA was terminated and we were certain that it wasn't going to be picked back up, we decided that what we would do is take these services that we had developed and put them in the hands of working families in El Paso. And to do that, we needed to put it at a price point that people could afford. So we put it at $2,400, which covers our costs and keeps us going, and which is really all we need to do.
Yeah, and that is so inexpensive compared to other programs, and nevertheless you're still very effective. So you have all kinds of individuals in the program now. It's not just homeless people, is that right?
that's
correct.
Huh?
We have just about every kind of person you can imagine at the moment.
Right. Well, and maybe that can be part of the blessing coming out of this, although there's still a huge need for a program for homeless veterans, which is what is so very, very sad.
And and we don't know where this is going to go. We have room for 100 people.
Oh, wow.
In that building, and there's room for a veterans program. There's room for what we're doing right now, and there's room for whatever else God has in store for us too.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Now, you were recently, or not too long ago, invited to the White House. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Got to wear your nice suit and everything?
I did, and I even was in a meeting with the President's Office of National Drug Control Policy, which met in the room right next to the Oval Office. Thank you very much. And it was August of 2011, and I was honored as a Presidential Champion of Change.
Oh, wonderful.
And that's for this work.
Right. So it's been federally, nationally recognized. Let's go to this clip where Ben is actually filmed at the White House talking about the whole basis of the program, which is the stigma of addiction and how the program tries to overcome that and deal with that.
Did a survey not too long ago, and out of thousands of people across the country who self-identified as being in recovery, 40% said they did not seek recovery at some point because of the stigma attached. So those are the ones that survived, and the ones that didn't we'll never hear from. Recovery is possible.
So Ben, you kind of have a different angle here than a lot of recovery programs have, about the stigma of recovery. And can you explain that a little more? How did you come up with that?
Well, there was a survey, a telephone survey nationwide done by Faces and Voices of Recovery back in several years back, and it reported that over 40% of the people that self-reported as being in recovery had not sought recovery services at some point because of the stigma associated with being in recovery, or someone knowing that they had a problem
Right.
with alcohol or drugs.
Right. Well, I know people like that. They won't seek recovery. Was that an issue for you at all, or were you just so desperate that you take whatever help you could get, Mario?
Well, you know what? I was in denial for so long. I mean, all the evidence was there. From the people I associated with, from the things I did behind closed doors. It was just a matter of time. Either I die or I get the help that I need.
Yeah. So how did you use that in developing this program?
Well, Holly, we're able, Mario or I are able to sit across a table from someone and say, I was once where you are, and I recovered, and this is exactly how I did it, and you can do it too. Let's start today.
Right. So being a peer, not being somebody who just has a fancy degree and a lot of theory, but actually having had the experience.
You know, there's over the past 40 or 50 years, there's been a lot of terrific science that's gone into the science of addiction. We know a lot about the sociological and psychological and physiological effects of alcohol and drugs on people, and we know a lot about how to stabilize someone, what to do when someone presents to us as a professional with alcohol and drug problems, and how to make them stable and get them started into a path of recovery. What is much less well known is how to sustain that long-term recovery. What are the stages of recovery, and how can we support people along that continuum? And that's the research that we're involved in now, and it's the work that we're doing. We take people who have been stabilized by brilliant clinicians and help them and guide them into the culture of recovery. And it's tremendously effective.
Right. And so people who, quote unquote, go into detox or detox programs generally relapse, so to speak, if they don't go into something like what you guys provide. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. That's very true. I mean, if the person is very serious about moving forward, never ever drinking or drugging again, I mean, there's got to be some sort of plan. I mean, and if I put all this effort into my drinking, why can't I put this effort into me not to drink?
How about 15% of it?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So there's a plan of action there. I mean, I do know that if I don't drink, I won't get drunk, and I won't get drunk if I don't drink. So there's a plan there. I mean,
yeah, right. Now, what about people who are watching this program and they know or suspect that a loved one may have a problem? What do you do about that?
Call 775-0505. That's one thing to do. But, if somebody has a problem, there's really very few things that a loved one can do. One very good thing that someone can do is to contact Al-Anon.
Al-Anon, right.
Al-Anon is a program for people who have loved ones who have alcohol problems.
Right.
And, take care of yourself. It's the best thing you can do. And learn not to go crazy about all that stuff that's going on.
Right.
And, perhaps that person will resolve their problem with alcohol or drugs.
So as a loved one, it's more about taking care of yourself and having good boundaries and not being codependent, and allowing them to suffer the consequences of their addiction. Is that true?
There's got to be some sort of rock bottom there. I mean, and there's different types of rock bottom from jails to hospitals to even detox. I mean, it all depends on the individual. I mean, this is a program of forever.
Yeah, right. So the reasons that someone gets into addiction, are they all biological predispositions, or?
We believe that there are probably 10% of human beings have some form of predisposition towards overuse of alcohol or drugs,
Right.
and for whatever reason. And of course, that's never activated if the person never uses alcohol or drugs.
Right.
So, you know, that it's and out of that 10% of those people have developed a real problem, and so on and so forth. It's a real small percentage of people, but they use a tremendous amount of social services. And we believe that it's really worthwhile to spend whatever money we really need to combat that. Not necessarily by locking people up,
Right.
but by attacking the root cause.
Right. And so you're trying to, because you look at addiction, drug addiction and alcohol addiction and all forms of addiction, and there is a tremendous societal cost, whether it's criminal or social or what have you, familial, family breakup, the whole bit. And so really, when you look at the investment in a program like yours that is successful, it's a no-brainer, right? I
You
mean,
know, it's like if I had a terminal disease, name one. If I had a terminal disease, would it be worth $2,400 to cure?
right.
Would it be worth $24,000 to go to Betty Ford or someplace? Yeah, it would. But we have a very effective program here, and I almost have to lapse into commercial mode.
Yeah.
But we would really like people to take advantage of this, and we want working families in El Paso to be able to afford it, and we want them to use it too.
Yeah, right. Well, gentlemen, I know you have a matching grant that's been offered, and we're out of time, but we'll put it up on the screen, the information, and people can donate to help raise that $50,000 you need to get the sprinkler system in.
Thank you.
Yeah, and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show, and we would want to hear how things are going. And do you think that the Veterans Administration defunding Casa Vida was politically or somehow motivated by an individual's agenda? What can we do about this? Would you please pray that God will open up the floodgates of blessing and provision for Casa Vida, and let us know what you think on our Facebook, Twitter, or website, kscetv.org. Thank you so much for watching.